Today's weather is gray. For no reason, people feel depressed, like holding a storm is about to come. See, the crown prince stood on top of the platform. He looked down from above. Behind, a group of maids and eunuchs, all lowered their heads, did not dare to make a sound. Father hopes that a few brothers can love each other, but born in the palace, in the face of the temptation of power, and how many people can keep the bottom line? Behind the small eunuch's time is not early, so try to ask His Highness the Crown Prince. Now want to go back to the East Palace. Hearing this, so the Crown Prince turned to leave, his face dark and gloomy, that a person cannot see the color of God. The tone of the brief command, go to the Pepper Room Hall. Soon a group of people arrived at the Queen's bedchamber. At the entrance of the Pepper Room Hall, the Crown Prince led the people to walk in. See, the Queen elegantly picked up the cup of tea. Gently sit, before asking the prince underneath. The palace heard that you were poisoned last night. The prince bowed to the empress steadily, and reported back to his mother, I didn't drink the poison wine, and my body is fine. The queen's eyes seemed to see through everything, knowing that she wanted to ask is not this. The palace wants to know how you plan to deal with this matter. The prince felt a little disheartened. He should have known. The mother does not care about himself, whether poisoned, only care about the throne. But his still filial courtesy. I have sent people to investigate. I think there will soon be results. The queen is still there chattering. She hoped that there would be a result tomorrow, and counted the things she had done for the crown prince, how much effort she had poured into him, and hoped that she would not be disappointed. The crown prince answered in a low voice, told her to get some rest, said goodbye to his mother, and then left. Soon after, he returned to the East Palace. First of all, he went back to the study room. The prince picked up the scrolls and looked at them carefully, sitting there and eating and sleeping, while the ministers and staff were discussing underneath. It was already past noon. The prince did not use the lunch. The eunuch was a little worried to go up and ask, but the prince refused, said he was not hungry. Nai Chomping lamented from the sidelines. The empress is really the same to the crown prince. High standards and strict requirements. Tomorrow we need to find out the results. Tai Fu's face is serious. This shows that the empress holds the crown prince in very high regard. When the ministers on the side heard this, none of them agreed with it. But when Nai Chomping heard this, he snorted disdainfully, clearly not sharing the same opinion as them. Luo Qinhan's birth mother died when he was very young, and the current empress is not his real mother. Then was sent to the Pepper Palace, handed over to the Qin Empress to raise. Her early years of miscarriage hurt the body, and after that can no longer get pregnant and give birth to children. It so happened that Luo Qinhan was left without a mother, and had to rely on the empress to survive. So she did her best to nurture him, and helped him win the crown prince's position. Nai Chomping pondered. In fact, to put it bluntly, the two of them were just using each other. There was no such thing as valuing each other. At this moment, a guard suddenly entered the hall, kneeling on one knee, apparently with something important to report. He looked panicked and reported to the prince that his subordinates had checked that it was not the wine that was poisoned, but the wine cup, which had been coated with poison. The crown prince realized that last night, even if the grand prince hadn't poured the wine for him, as long as he drank the wine himself, he would have been poisoned. Nai Chomping also suddenly epiphany. Hammered a palm, did not think it was actually that eldest prince. Tossed so much, couldn't really pure for people to take the fall. At this time, inside the Jade Lotus Hall, the table was set with exquisite snacks, but no one moved a bite. Only two women are sitting there. Chen Liangyuan chewed with the people next to her, excitedly talking about what happened at the birthday banquet last night. At that time, I was poisoned and vomited blood on the spot. Almost died there. Was rescued by the imperial doctor. Chen Liangyuan some regret. Life can be really hard enough. But white side. Concubine covered her mouth with a fan and sighed sadly, pretending to be heartbroken that I had suffered so much for nothing. Chen Liangyuan couldn't help but spit in her heart. What a white lotus flower! Who is she showing her innocence to? But she did a good job with her superficial appearance. Let her not sympathize with me. This is all my own sin. But also said that I hooked up with the crown prince to attend the birthday banquet. Otherwise it would not have been poisoned. White side consort pretended to be soft. After all, they are sisters. Encountered this kind of thing. It is reasonable to go to visit. But these 2 days have not been very comfortable. So she gently frowned and asked, if you are free, let Chen Liangyuan come to visit me. The two women had their own agenda, but on the surface they were both smiling. Chen Liangyuan agreed. She had nothing to do lately and decided to come and see me. She walked out of the side consort hall. Could not help but cold snort. White side consort look frail. Expect people mild. In fact, the heart is deeper than anyone. But on Chen Liangyuan's flattery and curry favor, accept it as it is. No benefit at all. She angrily pulled a handful of leaves to take there. She was so angry that she pulled a handful of leaves to vent her anger and pinched them in her hand. Her eyes were fierce. Since the white consort couldn't help her, she would think of a way by herself. Chen Liangyuan threw the leaves on the ground casually and turned to leave the pavilion. It seems that she already has an idea in her heart. At this time, Bao Qing helped me, walking outside, looking at the fence inside the lively and lovely chickens, so that my mood has become good. But at that moment, I suddenly stood still, my eyes glowing, staring straight at a place, as if I had discovered something. Then I raised my hand and pointed to a hen not far away. I saw that it didn't move much. Was it sick? Bao Qing was puzzled. Should we ask the veterinarian to take a look? But I directly refused. Wiped the saliva around my mouth. Wanted to stew it to make up for the bite. Only to see Bao Qing's face was speechless. Seriously waved her hand, saying that my body is relatively weak now, and I can't eat the greasy food. I quickly thought of another idea. I could give it to the prince. He's going to dine here tonight, so it's a good idea to kill a chicken to entertain him. Bakufu didn't think of my ulterior motives at all. Instead, he was all excited. If the crown prince thinks it's delicious, he'll come back to Chinga Palace again in the future. But I waved my hand. What's the use of the prince coming here? But if he finds the chicken delicious, but if he thinks the chickens are good, he'll agree to expand the chicken coop and raise more chickens. Then I'll be able to eat chickens every day. I jumped up and down excitedly. Bao Qing frowned directly in place. Seeing me there laughing with excitement, I felt that I was really stupid to think that I was trying to compete for favors. That chicken still went into the pot as expected. It was currently simmering on a low flame, the hot aroma overflowing from the side of the lid. I smiled and raised my head to sniff. I couldn't help but praise Bao Qing. The cooking is really as good as ever. This is so fragrant. I then stood by the window again, leaning on my chin in anticipation. His Highness the Crown Prince should hurry up and come. When it comes, I'll be able to dabble in a little chicken meat. But at that moment, at the door of the Chinga Palace, there was an uninvited guest. I couldn't help but feel a little strange. Why would she come? Not good intentions. Chen Liangyuan walked in and greeted me with lowered eyebrows. I don't know what she was up to. I scratched my chin, not giving her any face at all, and mocked her for being so old. I should be the one to call you sister. Chen Liangyuan was furious inside, but on the surface, she did her best, saying that I was in a higher position than her, so she should address me as sister. Don't be ridiculous. She sat her on the edge of the bed to try and hear the news of my poisoning. So she came to see me, but to see my face rosy, guessing that it should be no serious problem. I thought with a grim face, I can never be seen, but also want to take advantage of the recuperation, brightly swinging down it. So I immediately coughed weakly. The doctor said I was poisoned this time hurt the body. Must recuperate for a long time. But Chen Liang Dai thought I was deliberately showing off with her. As long as I wasn't cured, the crown prince would have a reason to continue to visit me. I couldn't let things develop like this. So Chen Liangyuan proposed to visit every day from now on, adding that she was afraid I'd be bored on my own. Chen Liang Dai thought proudly that the crown prince had been coming to Chinga Palace recently, so if she came here often, she might be able to see the crown prince and win his favor. I didn't want her to come, so I politely refused Chen Liangyuan. The doctor said she needed to recuperate, so it's best not to be disturbed. Chen Liangyuan cursed the bitch in her heart. She was so angry that she couldn't even hang onto her face. Obviously she didn't want her to see the crown prince, but she really had no other choice but to accept it. I saw Chen Liangyuan was still here and didn't leave, so she pretended to yawn, with a sleepy face, looking like she was going to fall asleep the next second. My body was slipping and sliding, but Bao Qing was quick and immediately shoved a pillow underneath me and lay down on the bed. Seeing Chen Liangyuan still not leaving, Bao Qing's expression was fierce, thinking, why is this person so insensitive? Can't you see that our little master is sleepy? Chen Liangyuan, also cheeky, sitting there steadily, a thoughtful face, is not in recuperation. How can smell the smell of chicken soup? I leaned on my forehead with a sleepy face that was prepared for His Highness the Crown Prince. Chen Liangyuan heard that the Crown Prince is coming, immediately came to spirit. This woman has a deep heart. She wants to stay here for a while, wait for the Crown Prince to come and give him the scented capsule, so that the Crown Prince can remember her. I already knew what she had in mind. I watched her act and said I would go to the kitchen to see how the chicken soup was coming along. So I stared at Chen Liangyuan with a penetrating expression. Why are you so concerned about my chicken soup? Is it possible that you are craving it? I stretched out my finger and pointed it straight at her, confirming my thoughts that this woman was coveting her chicken soup. Chen Liangyuan thought with a gnashing of teeth. A normal person encountered this situation should not be retained to show courtesy. How not according to the common sense of the cards. Turned his head and smiled at me. Just kidding, sister, how to take it seriously. But I didn't expect Bao Qing to give a hush. Pointing to the side of me, Chen Chen Liangyuan action frozen in place. The next words were blocked back. Chen Liangyuan looked at me with a speechless face and actually fell asleep. Chen Liangyuan was devastated inside. She was sitting here, a living person, and she fell asleep. She thought to herself with resentment, damn it, when she gets the prince's favor, she plans to kill me. Her eyes were sinister, and she was even more determined. She absolutely could not leave the Chinga palace now. She must see the crown prince. Soon it was night time. The palace was brightly lit up. Chen Liangyuan had not yet left. Her face darkened as she asked, what time is it now? Is the chicken soup still drinkable after being stewed for so long? Bao Qing looked at her with a bemused expression, but answered in a low voice, don't worry, there are people in the kitchen watching the chicken soup. They know how to make it. Chen Liangyuan couldn't control her temper and angrily pinched the handkerchief in her hands. Finally, she couldn't help but slap the table and shouted angrily at me, who was sleeping on the bed. Her face distorted. I was awakened by her noise and rubbed my eyes sleepily, looking puzzled and wondering why she hadn't left yet. But Chen Liangyuan questioned in a loud voice, not saying that His Highness the Crown Prince would be here today, why she hadn't shown up until now, and said that I was deliberately deceiving people. But I don't know. Bao Qing wanted to ask someone to ask, but I guessed that the crown prince might be busy with something, so I waited a little longer. Hearing these words, Chen Liangyuan had already decided that she was being deceived and felt that I was deliberately playing a trick on her, and wanted to ask me for an explanation. She kept shouting angrily that the prince would come today, but he didn't come at all, and she thought I was cheating her. But I do not know. She bit me in playing dumb. Usually look like a silly look. The original are pretending to be, with the white side consort, are deep-hearted white lotus. The heart than anyone else is vicious and very hot. This time she suddenly came behind a person's voice, wanted to talk back when she realized that the voice is not right. How so familiar. She violently turned back to look, but it was already too late, only to see as the prince came to the Chinga palace. Obviously this woman just words. I'll listen to it. See her mouth face. The crown prince stared at Chen Liangyuan coldly and mercilessly, looking at her as if she was looking at a dead person. Simply bold. Chen Liangyuan was so scared that she clenched the handkerchief in her hand, and her body couldn't stop trembling. But the words were heard by the crown prince, so she hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed continuously, wanting His Highness to listen to her explanation. But the crown prince's voice is cold, word by word, hit her heart hard. Why should she swear? The woman panicked to explain, just now just talking nonsense. She knows wrong. Please, Your Highness will not be just those words. On the heart. Seeing that she didn't admit it, the prince turned to me and asked me why Chen Liangyuan had cursed, and it was me who told the prince the whole story. I finally finished the conversation. I couldn't help but sigh. I was a bit puzzled myself, guessing that she might have waited for a long time and was starving. Seeing my heartless look, the crown prince gently lowered his eyes and ordered the guards behind him to send Chen Liangyuan back to Yulu House, have her quota for the next 3 months, and from now on, she's not allowed to set foot in Chinga Palace again. Chen Liangyuan's face showed her unwillingness. If this matter spreads out, then I'm afraid everyone will come to step on her. She doesn't want to live this kind of life. The little beauty fell down on her knees in the hall with a flutter. Her delicate face was a little twisted due to nervousness. Doesn't His Highness the Crown Prince remember me? When we first met, you complimented me on my beautiful name and gave me a small orchid, which I am still keeping. At this moment, she took out a scented pouch from her sleeve. The orchid on it was sewn by my own hands, and its original shape was the pot of orchids. She carefully held out the bag with both hands. Please accept this bag for the sake of the concubine's heart. Luo Qinghan's deep eyes narrowed slightly. So your name is Chen Lanqing. The name is good, but unfortunately you don't deserve this name. Chen Lanqing, little beauty, stand open mouth. Slender eyebrows actually tightly wrinkled together. In fact, the heart has long been collapsed, want to die. Sure enough, in the next second, His Highness lost his patience and actually directly pulled away the white sleeves of his coat and ordered the guards to drag her away. Then he sat her down on the bed with his buttocks. His head hung low and seemed to be thinking about something. For a time the room was silent. I did not have time to react. Suddenly felt a strong line of sight, making my fragile little heart a little tense, but I still inevitably pondered. The prince seems to be in a bad mood. Is it because he wants me to coax him? Although I've never coaxed a man, this stuff is no longer in the conversation. So the active group Banshee officially on the line. Your Highness ate. His Majesty's answer actually suits me. I've been waiting for you to eat it. Luo Qinghan was stunned at this moment, and all around seemed to be filled with my eager gaze. At this point he said he was too busy and forgot the time. If this happens again, I can send someone to remind him. Of course I nodded happily. I didn't realize that His Highness was so easy to talk to. It really made me love him even more. The room was glowing with warm light, and the night pearl inside was incredibly bright. When people are in a good mood, even the food they eat every day becomes very tasty at this moment. However, in my little woman's attitude, the first delicious meal on the table is of course dedicated to our little prince. In fact, my heart has long been spitting out that it's pathetic to be a little wife, waiting for the prince to know how to eat with chopsticks. The man picks up the bowl elegantly. His delicate face alone, together with his movements, is a picture. I'm waiting for the prince to take the first sip of soup, and I'm starving to start today's delicious dinner, which of course starts with a big bite of chicken thigh. The prince even advised me not to eat too fast as it would be bad for my stomach. I immediately is a fierce nod, and then the action is not slow. Jokingly, I'm a dry rice soul. Not long after, the little maid is very worried. Their own little master has been dry 3 bowls. Really is very heroic. She can't let her master's behavior be seen by the crown prince. If she is misunderstood as a rice bucket, how to do? I licked my lips and looked at the little maid, then handed her the bowl to indicate another bowl. The little maid was frantic inwardly. All the other concubines were drinking fairies, but my own master was an oddball. As the oddball master, I couldn't get enough of it. But a small bowl was suddenly handed to me. Was this an attempt to poison me? I had to take it with both hands with a smile on my face, and thoughtfully looked at him to see if he wanted to add rice. But the man calmly said he wanted to drink soup. The prince is really worthy of being called the prince. A bowl of soup also want to give him a bowl of their own, but they still have to maintain a smile on their face. Luo Qinghan's cold eyes flickered slightly. Sexy thin lips burst and pursed. Seems to have something to say. Sure enough, his expression instantly became softer, and his tone of voice slightly dotingly reminded me of the rice grains around my mouth. I just gulped down 3 bowls of rice. Of course, I did not know that there were grains of rice in the corner of my mouth, so I touched the other side in disbelief. But something unbelievable happened. The prince wiped away the grains of rice from me, and the atmosphere became warm and cozy. It was the first time I felt a man's tenderness, and I couldn't help blushing. Eunuch Chang stood respectfully at the side, thoughtfully handing over a clean handkerchief for the crown prince. After all, who knows, he has a cleanliness fetish, but on the surface of the calm little eunuch, but inside is crazy screaming. Prays even for her to wipe the rice particles. However, as a woman who is the #1 in dry rice, of course I didn't know the deep meaning of this, and happily thanked His Highness. I put His Highness' small bowl aside, and actively picked up a large pot, as a reward the rest of the chicken soup for His Highness. Eunuch Chang inwardly spat madly at her for being a deadbeat. After all, His Highness doesn't like chicken soup. But the next moment he was slapped in the face. The man actually picked up the bowl and started to drink it, causing the eunuch to call out, "What a great guy." He drank a few sips extremely elegantly, and then put the bowl on the table. I used my super thick skin to propose to His Highness. "Are you full? Can you give the rest of the chicken soup to my concubine?" The little maid immediately broke out into a cold sweat. Our little lord had tried 4 bowls of rice in a row, and now he wouldn't even let the crown prince have the leftover chicken soup, only to see our prince threw me a helpless look. "The sky looks like floating a few crows, gaga gaga." The man said mercilessly that it is not possible at all. After hearing that, I want to die. Why don't you let me drink it? It seems that the prince still has some patience with me. Chicken soup is too greasy. I am still recovering from my illness. I have to avoid food in order to get well. I put on a pitiful face and wiped the corners of my eyes. I've been eating light porridge and small dishes all day, and my mouth is full of birds. And this chicken soup is not very greasy. It looks quite light, so I quietly want to take away. I didn't expect this guy to be so heartless. He even asked the eunuch to remove the soup, seemingly completely disregarding my life and death. I watched the chicken soup fly away, and then I fell on the table without tears. There was a cup of tea on the table, waiting to be enjoyed by the owner. I stared at His Highness with my dead eyes, and with my womanly intuition, I sensed something. "Your Highness is not encountered with troubles. If you trust me, may as well speak out. I may be able to help you." Apparently Luo Qinghan doesn't know what it means to be polite, and even suspects my good intentions towards him, and even finds my goodness inexplicable. In fact, I didn't even know how to explain. So just as I opened my mouth, he interrupted and said not to say flowery words to deceive people. I had no choice but to pick at my face helplessly. Truth be told, Concubine had already taken up a division mission. When I left the division, the more I said, the more excited I was, and gave a thumbs up. That is, to find a person of destiny to assist him in ascending the throne. The prince's brain is absolutely clear that the person of destiny I chose is him. After all, as a salted fish, of course he could do less. The crown prince is indeed the closest to the throne. Luo Qinghan understood all the ins and outs almost instantly, and guessed that I had been planning to get close to him from the beginning. However, I approached him deliberately with a purpose, and now that he knows the truth, he will definitely be very disappointed in me. But the man's sight is so strong, it's hard not to let me notice it. He looked me up and down with deep eyes, and then he cast a puzzled look at me. Is there an expiry date for this master's quest? I was curious and said that there was no deadline. The man directly explained to me that my father is now in his prime, and it is unlikely that he will succeed the throne within a short period of time. I nodded happily and said that this matter could not be rushed. He picked up a cup of tea and took a sip, moistened his mouth, and said he was checking on the poisoned wine. The guards found out that the wine was not poisoned. It was his cup that had been coated with poison, and he had these people brought in for questioning. Finally, he found a court lady named Blossom, who was seen in Fengqi Garden and looked very panicky. The guards searched her place and found a packet of poison in the wine. I nodded my head viciously. So let's bring her in for questioning. But I didn't expect her to run away. Xiao Zhan searched all the places where she appeared and questioned her with the court ladies, but she seemed to have disappeared. The Queen Mother asked him to find out the truth tomorrow, and the day was almost over, but she was still missing. I realized that His Highness was able to find out her birth date and could personally pinpoint her location. This kind of thing makes the prince wonder. I did not think that the people in the Xuan Men, in addition to being able to avoid bad luck, can also count. So he turned his head directly to Eunuch Chang. Quickly go to the inner chamberlain's bureau to check it out. This little eunuch does have some skills. He brought me Blossom's birthday in minutes. Naturally, I wouldn't be shy in this matter. This is my unique skill. I examined it carefully and memorized it in my mind. So I placed the paper on the table and quietly put one hand on it. In the confusion of outsiders, a compass appeared in my mind. Then I pressed my hands against each other, and a deep energy slowly emerged. As I moved, the light became brighter and brighter, and from the moment it reached my forehead, the world's events became clear to me. But I didn't take it lightly. Instead, I mobilized the energy of my entire body, so that it could be put to good use. Unexpectedly, the first thing I saw in my search was actually a man who was wickedly strangling a woman's neck. This scene was very exciting to me. The cold sweat on my forehead then increased, only to see a clearer picture flashed in my mind. That black shadow actually threw her into the river. It seems to have been drowned alive. I am for this kind of thing above. It belongs to the woman's sympathy is uncomfortable. Blossom wanted to shout for help but drank in the lake water, and a sense of suffocation came directly to my face. Of course I can relate to this feeling, so I immediately opened my eyes violently. I was just a little weak from the use of energy, but luckily I really found it by myself. I had to quickly adjust my mind. The Blossom was 100 feet to the southwest. Surrounded by water, people should have died. Luo Qinghan seemed to trust me, and directly turned his head to remind Eunuch Chang to go and inform Xiao Zhan of this matter. I quietly probed my own pulse and let the little maid wipe away my cold sweat. Fortunately, the crown prince is not a sober man. He saw that my face did not look well, so he proposed to help me find a doctor to examine me. I raised my head and explained to him. When I was counting just now, I realized how she felt before she died, and it was just a bit hard for me. The prince looked very considerate and told me to go and rest. He would come back to see me tomorrow. Time passed quickly into the night, the deep night in the study even flickering light. Soon Eunuch Chang came to report that Lord Zhao had arrived at the door of the study and was waiting for his master to announce that he had entered the hall, only to see the door of the study slowly open. But a figure seemed to be in a great hurry. Lord Zhao handed something to the eunuch and explained that he had found a well in the southwest with a woman's body and a jade pendant inside. The woman's corpse had the name Blossom embroidered on her handkerchief, and the round jade pendant seemed familiar, very much like something from the palace. He also went to check with the young house supervisor, and it seemed to be something from the palace of Changla. After all, there was a dossier recording that this jade pendant was rewarded by the Empress Dowager to consort Ning last year. Luo Qinghan put down the object in his hand and said that it was enough to check here. Lord Zhao had worked hard. Go back to sleep. Lord Zhao immediately and respectfully retreat. This is the subordinate part of the work is not hard. Your Highness also early rest. Subordinate farewell. His Highness of course would not go to sleep. A pair of cold eyes very announcing. The original is the Ninfei. The sky brightens up quickly, and the flowers outside the Shufeng Hall are in full bloom. The mother of the man is enjoying the blooming flowers. Her goose-egg face is very delicate. As the saying goes, age never fails to beauty. Luo Qinghan came here early in the morning, elegantly kneeling on one knee to greet her, leisurely waiting for her mother's instructions. As expected, she began to probe. I heard that you led the Jade Forest Army to investigate the case last night. But did you find out anything? The men said that the queen mother was wise. The name of the poisoner was Blossom. The body was found in the well last night, and this round jade pendant was found. The queen mother turned her head and saw that the object in his hand looked familiar. Whose is it? Of course he won't lie about it. This thing in his hand all clearly refers to Princess Ning. His mother immediately revealed a dangerous look. I did not expect this thing was actually Ningfei's. So she pinched off the most colorful flower in her hand, held it in her hand, and walked slowly towards the front, and reminded the little maid to go and announce that Ningfei had entered the palace.